Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Client Profitability for eTruck Biz. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're just shy of the top of the hour. The attendee list is still growing. So if everybody could sit tight, we'll get rolling here shortly. Thank you very much. All righty, the attendee list has seemed to level off. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Once again, this is Ken Kibler, Director of Client Profitability with eTruck Biz. We're going to cover some of the same topics today with some of the volume trends, productivity trends, as well as move into some of the new subjects that we are all facing now that it is FedEx One. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A. And we appreciate everybody being here. And without further ado, I will turn this over to Jeff Walczak. Thank you very much.
All right, as always, we need to remind you that eTruck Biz is not endorsed, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx. FedEx Ground. Oh my God. How many times is that gonna FedEx Corporation? FedEx Corporation.
The new world.
I blew it right out the gate. First day, first time.
It won't be the last.
That's for sure. So if we look at the pickup volume from last week, oh, good Lord, look at that big old plunge. But it's sort of okay because there was one less pickup day last week. So it's okay, but it's not okay, right? How about over on the delivery side? Same thing over there. Saw a plunge in the packages and volume, but keep in mind this was 1 day less revenue. So that's really the thing that happened last week, folks, is okay, the volume was less for a week, but that's one less day of operating revenue for you guys, right? Now I know there's some of the fixed components that keep going. That's good, but as you're paying your bills and thinking about it, there's, again, you're going to see in your settlements next week that there was one less day of revenue. So go over to the productivity side. And here's the new thing, or was new last week, new this week, and we're going to be talking about this going forward. Can we demonstrate driver methods product or proficiency? FedEx Corporation. And we're going to look at this here in a second. Attachment A2 to Schedule A, Section 6.2. Whoa, what's that mean? There's a new contract out there, folks. But anyways, when we look at the productivity from last week, how did we handle the holiday? Well, look at that. Routes dispatched way down, 13%. That's good. And look at that. Stops per dispatch. Fantastic. Well, look at that. Confetti, those of you that know.
I love a confetti party.
That's pretty good. That's actually really good. You guys doing that in a holiday week. That's very difficult to do. So well done. Well done. Okay, and then we want to ask this question. Do you know how many stops you have per dispatch out there today? Do you know? Do you know how many? Not what you think might be out there. Do you know? All right, let's get to the news. Welcome to FedEx Corporation. And again, it's been said by many of the executives from FedEx that it's the most significant event in FedEx history. Yet, if you look around out there, don't see too much about it anywhere, especially on My Ground Biz or anywhere else. Where's all the fanfare, right? Well, for now, there's not much out there. But as we said last week, maybe it's because they want it that way. They don't want to incite a panic. And yes, stuff's going to happen, and has been happening, and it's going to happen. So we're going to keep going. But there are many things going on behind the curtain out there. And discuss a few of them today. So one of them is there's some upcoming contract modifications. Now, I know that some of you have been shown some of these when applicable. Just so you know, and they've said it that there's going to be a schedule of modifications, and then some of the new contract, if you stand up to your new contract after today or after this last Saturday, then it'll just be in the contract. Some of you are going to ask to sign a schedule of amendments and stuff like that. But anyways, here's some of the modifications that are coming up. Now, there's a lot more than we're gonna cover here it could take hours to go through all this. But we're just gonna cover some of the highlights here. As you know, and as you're about to find out, we'll cover a lot of these things in detail as we come out across the country to come see you guys here pretty soon. So as we said last week, the recontracting review period is down to 4 months from 6. Right? I think most folks are aware of that. Here are some of the modifications. First of all, there's a lot of mention in the new contract about customs and imports. Where is it in the new contract? Well, it's all over the place. Attachment A3, Section 11. There's actually many places where it's mentioned what it means to you, what's the CSP impact. When they put all this in the contract, it presumably paves the way for all the express volume to be handled by CSPs. So you would need some of this wording in the contract to handle some of the international overnight stuff. And I know people say, well, we're not getting the 830s. You will. Not right yet, not yet, but you will. If you've noticed, those of you that have been around a long time, they'll put things in the contract sometimes a couple of years before it actually happens. So that's why that's in there now. There's another area of the contract, the certificate of compliance, section 18.4. Now, you're going to see this a lot related to demonstrating proficiency. Also may need to demonstrate compliance. So they're starting to talk about not just give me a piece of paper that says you did something, but show me that you can handle whatever it is. So as an example, just a real, hopefully simple example, demonstrating proficiency would be not just produce them a receipt for a new tire. So I got a new tire in a truck. Great. Here's the receipt. Okay, that in the past, that was good enough, for a monthly maintenance report, whatever. But maybe now we got to show them the new tire. Maybe we got to know how to stick the tire, if you know what that means. Ken, what does sticking a tire mean?
Sticking a tire means measuring the tread depth with a tire gauge to see if it is legal or not above 4/32 on the front, 2/32 on the back.
So if I say, hey, Ken, I see this receipt for your new tire. That's fantastic. I'd sure like to see that on the truck. Then what do you think you got to do?
So you probably have to walk that person out to that vehicle and show them that exact tire. And as a proof source, if you would like to, you could stick the tire and say, hey, listen, it's 15/32. It's pretty new.
Right. So in the old day, that's what we used to do in the old days, those of you that haven't been around very long. We used to have to do stuff like we used to do that. We'd say, oh, that's fine. Just now show me you can do it, right? So we're going to talk about more about that here in a second. There's some brand promotion changes. If you agree to get in I believe it's the apparel brand promotion program, you can't get out anymore by providing them 15 days written notice. If you get in the program, you have to be in the program for the entire length of your contract instead of saying, you know what, I don't want to be in anymore, so I can get out after 15 days. There's something behind that. I'm not going to plant a seed here. Just there's that now, right? There's an area of concern, leased equipment listing, Schedule B. Someday there will be a way to register vehicles outside the current method. So now if you got a truck, you have to go in I guess, my ground biz and put the vehicle in there. And that's fine, but apparently there's going to be a new way of doing this, and it's not that big of a deal yet, but it's interesting that it's in there like that. So I don't know exactly. I don't know if you guys have any ideas, or even if you guys, anybody for that matter, has an idea why they would change this. I don't know, but there must be some reason. So there is that. Next thing is software scanning equipment. There already are some of these out there. I think there are, but you're gonna have to get an RFID reader in every one of the trucks. Now, an RFID tag can be embedded in a barcode or some sort of label. So not only would a package be scanned onto a truck, and you can say, well, that package is on that truck. That's fine. Now you can actually, if you're reading the RFID tag, you can verify that that package is actually on a truck. So that's big when you've got very critical deliveries of, I don't know.
Medical industry is a big one, a big user of that product.
Medical things, high value things, whatever they are, but it's a thing. So keep in mind though, this is one of those things that they say they're going to ask you're going to have to get these and provide these RFID readers. But if it materially increases your costs, then you can ask for a renegotiation and ask them for an increase in your contract so you can pay for this, right? Don't just put them in there. You want to make sure you get with us and let's see if we can't get you a renegotiation and see if we can't get them to pay for this, right? By the way, just so you know, those of you that know this, you can do that with payroll. So if you get in the payroll penalty box because you failed the payroll audit and you have to use some of the other payroll providers out there, they'll do the same thing. You can renegotiate your contract and ask for the extra cost, whatever it costs you to do that, you can ask for that in a increased contract negotiation, right? There is an area in the assignment of your operating agreement. So when you spin or when you sell an area, there's some wording in there now that they don't want you spinning off your crappy areas, trying to sell them, right? So if you've got some non-contiguous area or some area, whatever, that you don't want anymore, you can't just say, well, I want to spin that part off and sell it to somebody. There's wording in there about that. That's not going to happen anymore. Another part of this is FedEx is not obligated to consider an assignment transfer within 120 days of a contract expiration date. It used to be 90. So if you go to them and you say, hey, I'd like to sell my business, we're we're gonna close, we'd like to close in 60 days or whatever it is, they can say, okay, and let it happen, but they're not obligated. They don't have to even consider it if you try to close it within 120 days of your contract expiring. Right? And quite honestly, that's not cool. But there you go. There it is. There is a new part about security in the new contract. ISP to administer a security assurance program. ISP agrees to demonstrate the existence of its program. Now, a lot of you say, well, okay, that's no big deal. We'll get something going there. There's specific wording about this in there. If you can't remember the proficiency thing and demonstrating things to me, if you can't just demonstrate that you have a security assurance program in place, appears that that's going to be, and that there's wording in there about that being a material breach of the contract. And remember, a material breach, especially when they point it out, that's we're not going to argue about this thing. Either you've got it or you don't. If you don't, that's a they can, what they're saying, not that they would get everybody all fired up here, but they could just say, well, that's a material breach or operating agreement. See ya. You're done. You're out. So they're going to take that very seriously. Why? They have to. I mean, they've always had to, but now again, medical stuff, maybe drugs on trucks, maybe very high value things. So they're going to have to up their security game as well. Okay. We talked about this before, but customer service assurance, ISP personnel will have to demonstrate proficiency for providing service. I'm pausing there because of anything, of any of the changes or any of the modifications, there you go. There's the biggest one. We'll talk about that some more here in a minute too. Duty to ensure superior customer service. And there's also wording in there about this being a material breach. Demonstrating the impact is demonstrating personnel proficiency. Can your people demonstrate that they know how to provide superior customer service? And one of many things that could very well mean is have you taught what we'll refer to as driver methods to your drivers? And can you demonstrate that you've done so? What do you think that might mean, Ken?
It's very, very broad on purpose, but can your drivers, if a route needs to do 150 stops and you're sending drivers out doing 100 stops, they are not proficient in methods because otherwise they would be able to do the 150 stops. Either that or they're taking hour and a half or 2 hour lunch breaks, but they would not be proficient in their methods. So it would demonstrate, they have to be able to demonstrate proficiency.
And is that no big deal?
It becomes a big deal because they're
Well,
going
I'll
to
tell you
be.
why.
Go ahead.
Because it specifically now states in your operating agreement that failure to demonstrate that type of proficiency is a material breach of your operating agreement.
Yep.
Well, the next one here, driver safety standards. And I had to read this 5 or 10 times, and maybe I still got this wrong, but passing a medical exam only required for people operating vehicles over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. So if somebody's an L10, I believe, right? Is that right? L10,
Correct.
they may have to have a lot of other things, but one of the things they don't have to have, according to how I read this, and again, we didn't do the legal disclaimer before that, but I'm not an attorney. Ken's not an attorney, but we're not giving you legal advice. Read it yourself. But that's what it looks like to me. That would be a change.
But they do have to take a drug test and are in the random drug test pool.
That's correct. They can be in bad shape, drive, but they just can't take any.
Blood pressure might be over 95 on the diastolic, but they just can't smoke weed.
So there's a whole slew of things on the new schedule or the Schedule I, and I didn't even want to list them. It's probably needs to be done in a separate webinar because we'd be here at least a half hour listing them. So we'll skip that for now. We'll come back to that. Okay. There's some changes in the Schedule L. And this is a big one, folks. So let's see if we can't try to shed at least whatever light we can on this. And I'm sure FedEx will cover all of this with you guys, but we're just trying to give you a little heads up. But anyway, Schedule L Section 2.3, if CSP personnel willfully cause a claim to happen, FedEx is saying that they're no longer liable, that there's no more $5,000 limit for the liability. So if one of your drivers, you or one of your drivers decide to park your van in somebody's living room, they did it on purpose, and it can be proven, you're not limited, that FedEx is going to say, no, that they did that on purpose. Sorry, Mr. Contractor, we're not paying anything. Or you're not just limited to the $5,000 part of it. If the claim is $150,000, then sorry, you're on the hook for $150,000. But that makes some sense. Also, ISP duty to cooperate in litigation. Schedule L thing. Henceforward, costs and expenses related to litigation that FEC has to incur on behalf of the ISP will be borne by ISP. So they're not going to pick up the legal bills anymore. I know that's been a thing back and forth before, but now they're saying it that, nope, sorry, we're not paying the legal costs anymore in case something goes to litigation, right? Then alternate vehicle operator identification. AV operators don't have to participate in the apparel business ID display or brand promotion program. That's another thing that I'm not sure that I'm reading that right. But there you go. I think that's what that has to do with. So if anybody on here has any questions about all that, please put them in the question and answer box, chat or whatever. Hopefully, and what I want to know from you guys is, have they covered any of this with you yet? I don't know. Some of you said that they have, so that's what I'm interested to know. Okay. Over here. Going the wrong way. There we go. So as we said, there's a new theme woven throughout the modifications, right? Demonstrating proficiency for several contract standards. That's a new thing. Have they ever done that before? Have they had anything in there before about demonstrating proficiency?
I have not seen anything like it. It's always been end results, not because they didn't want to approach manner, method, and means.
Well, apparently, this is another step towards manner, method, or means that they want you to, okay, manage the results. That's great, but they want to see that you know what you're doing. Not be told you know what you're doing. They want to see it. Right? And let's keep going. So what that means, what it means is whatever they want it to. Okay. Like demonstrating that you or your employees can achieve 98.5% plus time definite service. So can you do that? Are you proficient in it? Do the folks know what they're doing? Do your drivers, and this is demonstrating proficiency, do your drivers know, let's just for fun say their next 3 or 4 time definite stops? What time are they? Where are they at on the truck? What's going on? Well, they don't care about that. Guess what? They do now. And anyway, so we have folks that are, some of our folks, a lot of our clients are already handling time definites. And we're learning a lot about how to help support your quest to accomplish this. So most of you in here don't have them yet. And some of you, you think it's so far in the future that, well, I don't have to worry about that right now. Well, okay. But you're gonna have to, and there's a lot to learn about doing it. It's not just put them on the truck and hope the drivers are getting done. That's not how it goes, folks. So anyway, we're especially with respect to time definite service. Now, hundreds of folks are already using eRoute to do this. And what we want to tell you about this is we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about time definite service. We've got, without question, the slickest app out there to have this, to make sure that you can get this done. But we're finding out that the drivers are clever. Not that you didn't know this already, but yes, they are. So one of the things we want to point out that eRoute has advanced connections with FedEx. So it's not what most of you are used to. It's not this download the manifest, add stops, move them around. It's a whole different way of communicating with FedEx. Now, you don't necessarily know that or see that, but it is. It's a whole different thing here. When you get your eRoute going so that you can help manage your time definites, we want to point something out to you. Be careful how your settings are set for eRoute. So one of the things, there's a couple things I'm just going to read them. So in eRoute, you can disable eRoute for all drivers. If that's what you want to do, fantastic. You can turn it off. You can set it up so that drivers can only retrieve the manifest by default work area. So if you assign in the system a default work area to a driver, you can set it up to say, I just want my drivers to see their default work area. That's it. You can also say drivers can only retrieve the manifest for the work area after they scan in or after they log into the scanner. Right? We're finding out that they're finding out a lot of things, but anyways, there's one of the things there. So you can set that so they can only see it. You can't set it so they can only see it after they log in the scanner. And then also, drivers can only retrieve the manifest for the work area they are assigned to in the scheduler. So sometimes they have a default area because they do the same area every day all the time, and you set it as the default, that's fine. Or when you schedule folks for different times and days and whatnot, you can assign them a particular work area and then they can see that. So you can set that to let them see that or not. Right. Okay. So let's keep going here a second. So now another thing we're finding out is the connection that we have with FedEx that's different from everybody else. The data coming from FedEx is faster, sometimes 20 to 30 minutes faster or fresher, we'll call it that, than what you see in the DSW. Now, that's a really big deal, especially on the time definite side of things. Why is that, Ken?
Because a lot of times you're only going to have an hour after dispatch. So if I see that I've got one driver with 10 and 10 time definites by 10:30 and it's 9 o'clock and I know we're not getting out till 9:30, I'm going to have to make some moves to get some of those to another driver. So it gives you the ability to manage it without having to look into a DSW, which the DSW is not going to give you that same information. We're going to have it at 9 o'clock. The DSW is not going to have it till 9:30 or 9:20. So therefore, it's going to give you the chance to manually move those stops to another driver.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and a lot of that's one of the things that we didn't actually know that for we didn't know, and now we're finding out that yeah, that the folks want that because that gives them some extra time to get those, especially right now the 10:30s done because that's an issue, right? And you want to get those 10:30s done on time because it's actually worth a lot of money right now. So this is a really big deal. So that's what we just talked about there. So I didn't get a screenshot of this, but one of the things that connection with FedEx allows us to do is you can actually watch your preload in real time. So I know there's other ways to kind of do this, and a lot of people look at their DSW, and some of these other guys got different other things, but I wish I had, we'll put something up about this again next week because it's a big deal. But you can actually watch in as close to real time as there is what gets scanned and put on these trucks, right? Which is what we were talking about. That's what Ken said. If you're going to make moves, then you got to make them now, not half hour later. If you all of a sudden you think so. And also here's another thing. So our version of the DSW, which by the way, there's talk of the DSW going away or changing, or I'm not exactly sure what's going on there yet. But we know that our friends at FedEx have looked at this and said, oh man, this is great because this basically takes place of the DSW. And guess what? We now know it's faster than DSW.
And it calculates your stops per dispatch
I don't need know my stops for dispatch, Ken. Why do I need to know that?
because that's the money you got on the truck. And the money you got on the
Oh,
truck determines the money that's going to hit your pocketbook and
hmm.
your bank account.
Kind of some important stuff, huh?
Could be.
Anyway, this is great. This is a good thing here. This is it's faster. Faster is good. All right. And the other thing that's going on, especially some of the folks that are using it now, they're seeing it where eRoute's saving them not a couple bucks, but a lot of money. So, Bob, are you on here?
Yep, I'm on.
So we've noticed when we look at some of the competitors billing folks, that they're doing some things that don't necessarily make sense. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
So like in this case here,
493.
go ahead.
Yep, 493 dispatches is what they had, and they were charged for 498. Is that a whole lot? No. Is it going to make a difference? A little bit here, a little bit there. It's going to all add up. It will add up.
So what I noticed on this one is if you look at the actual routes, so there's 22, 23 on a busy day, 22, let's just say for fun. But over here in the description, they're charging for 22, 23, but they got this Veter only charge, 7, whatever. But I got
That's for spare
23
vans, Jeff.
spare vans, but they're only dispatching 22, 23 a day.
Well, you still got to have extras.
So you're going to pay
Right?
30
I got a van.
bucks a month to put a Veter in a truck that you don't use.
Well, FedEx says I have to.
They do?
I got to have it in every van, right?
Why don't we move one from a truck? If I'm not using those 7, 8, whatever it is, Veters, why can't I just put one of those in a rental or a spare truck or whatever I'm doing? Why do I got to be charged for 7 or 8? I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we're
Good
all trying to
question.
save money, right? Because FedEx sucks. So how can why am I paying for extra? Did they point that out to me? Are they trying to help me with this? Or they just want to charge me? Oh, look what they do. In June, 23 bundled ones at 50 bucks and 7 at 30. Okay, great. Why does it always add up to 30 somehow?
I guess that's the magic number.
Whatever that, it's interesting. So here's somebody else. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at here, Bob.
This here is if you look at your DSW, you've got X amount of work areas. And if you don't go in and turn them off, you're going to be charged for those work areas. Unlike ours, it's $395 flat. And it includes the eRoute, so you're not even paying anything extra. But for package route, if you've got that, you got to go in and turn that off. This one here, the max that they've run, I think, is 21, 22, what they've ran, but they're getting charged for 26.
So if I forget to turn off a particular work area or whatever, they get charged for it anyway?
Yes, you do.
To turn it off, yes. Yep. That work area 11, that very first top one, that didn't run at all in the month of May.
But aren't
yeah,
they cheaper than everybody else?
$20.
Wait a minute, aren't they cheaper than everybody else?
Not when you're paying for some.
$520.
Well, they said they're cheaper than everybody else. I don't get it. So our friends are not necessarily helping us, are they? Well, they're trying to extract as much money from the CSP community as they can, I guess. Well, I can kind of surmise. So because of all of this, we have created a savings calculator that Becca is going to try to show us here. If I can figure out how to bring it on the screen. See if I can do this. Can you see this? Hopefully.
You can see
I
it.
see it.
All right. So this is our blog, right, Becca?
Correct.
Okay, so if you find this one, go here. So what are we saying here?
So this is the routing software waste and savings calculator. So right here, let's say it's $35 per month, cost per work area or route. So we're just gonna put that up here. So if we scroll down a little bit, you would see that, let's say we have, thank you, 40 total work areas, but we're not running those work areas or routes every day. So then over here where this little toggle is, you can put in your average number of routes that are dispatched per day. And then you can kind of gauge how much you are wasting on this as it is. So as he is moving that around, you will notice that down below, you are overcharged 14 routes right now. And then that, or however many. So let's say you want to put it at
What's it supposed to be at? I forgot. 31.
You can do it 31, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
We'll put it back to where it was.
Okay.
But I can't. Your calculator. Okay, so all right, 30.
Okay.
Somehow I got it there.
There we go. So if you could just scroll down a little bit for me.
So wait a minute, Bob, is this what you're talking about with some of these other ones you just showed us, that they're charging us for, they're not charging us for
Yep.
what we run, they're making up something they're charging us for.
Correct.
Okay, so they're
So now,
overcharging. Oop, go
that
ahead.
shows you that you're overcharged for 9 routes, and then your monthly waste due to that overcharging is $315. Okay. So now, what is the cost of paying for drivers that don't use your routing software? So you can move this toggle back and forth, number of drivers not using your routing software. And if we put it at, obviously the lower, the less, but if you want to put it at, you want to do 10?
See if I can pull.
Why wouldn't they use it, Becca? Why aren't they using the software?
Well, I don't know why they're not using the software. They should
Well,
be.
that's a good question, right? Why aren't
Well,
they?
they should be, right? If you're paying for it, why aren't they using it? They know the route, they don't need it.
So we can keep it right there. That's fine. So,
Actually, as you're talking about that, let me point something out here real quick. What we've seen with our increased focus on eRoute is a lot of drivers either A, don't even use whatever routing software it is, but if they do, they'll only look at it a couple times a day, sometimes. So you're paying for a lot of stuff that doesn't get used anyway. Let's go down to the next thing here.
so then they also will throw in that safety training each month too. So you can change that total amount if you wanted. We just have it at $5 for that safety training charge per driver. And then you can move that, of course, number of drivers you're being charged extra for. So let's just say you have 10 drivers and that's at $5 per driver, giving you that extra safety charge of $50 per month.
So if we're thinking about what we might be wasting with some of those places, in this case, $750 we're wasting. Can we afford to waste that, you guys? Ken and Bob?
A lot of money.
Well, you're wasting more than what ours costs.
In this case, which is why we didn't invite everybody to go here and play with it and see what you think. Then you got just plain savings, right? So what's this? You know what this is?
So that would be that monthly routing app plus the safety training that they're getting charged extra on. So you're at $1,450 for the other routing service plus the extra safety charge.
And then versus what it costs with us.
eTruck Biz, $395, which includes so much more than just the routing as it is. And if you switched over to use that, your monthly savings comes to $1,055 per month based on these calculations. So then you can look down and look at your yearly savings, over $12,000 per year.
I don't know if you like triangles versus circles and it's worth $12,000. Okay. I guess.
And we encourage everyone to go on our eTruckbiz.com. On the menu, go to blogs, and you can play with this calculator for your specific needs on there as well and figure out how much you're wasting right now.
Okay.
How much you can put back into your business or into your pocket.
I mean, in a case like this, that's like about almost somewhere around 1% of the revenue. I mean,
Yep.
people are trying to do that all day long, and there you go. And for real, you guys, we're trying to point out that take a look at this. We really did find, we were stunned when we found out how the other folks are taking advantage of the situation. Well, I gotta have a meter. Okay, yeah, but it doesn't mean you gotta overcharge folks. Come on. Okay, so let's get to the questions and
I want to
stuff
go to
here.
the chat first. So it looks like first one for the indemnification portion, willful damages. Do we now need to find new insurance coverage to protect us? What are your thoughts on that, Jeff?
I think you can find, you can find that insurance. You can find somebody to sell you that insurance. I don't think it doesn't say and look, I'm not telling you I'm the Mr. Contract expert on this. I'm not going to sit there and tell you I'm the safety guy from FedEx and exactly what you should do. I'm not going to tell you that. What I am going to tell you is if you've got somebody, I mean, I would be concerned about that. And first of all, I would go to FedEx and ask that question. I'm thinking that they would tell you, well, that's up to you. And if it is up to you, I'd go find some of that, go see if you can get an umbrella policy of some sort or something, because, you know, hopefully it's not that big of a deal. First of all, hopefully you never have to deal with this. That's the first thing. If you do for some reason, and they're not going to cover $100,000 or who knows what it is, there's no telling. You guys all know, everybody on this call knows that, you know, nobody wants bad things to happen, but they do. I would get insurance for it. That's what I can tell you. I would see if I could find some sort of catastrophic loss or umbrella or something.
Yep. You want to control what you can control. One of the things that could be determined willful negligence. Your drivers have to be enrolled in an ongoing safety program, which eTruckBiz has. If you're not managing that process because you say, I can't make my drivers do these lessons, and you got a driver who hasn't done 52 out of their last 52 lessons, and he goes and does something really, really stupid, guess what? Could definitely be deemed willful negligence. Okay. Yes, Veter does have to be on any truck that's on your Schedule B, correct? And are they hard to remove? Understandably. One thing we have noticed, a lot of CSPs carry a lot of extra spare trucks. That's something that can cost you a lot of money. The standard model is at most 15% of your fleet you would want spare. So if I've got 10 trucks, you'd say 1.5 spares. What's that? Okay, so you're going to have two. But we find people that have 15 routes and end up having 32 trucks. There you're costing yourself a lot of extra money right there. Okay.
Should have said that. Do you really have that many spares? I mean, do you? I mean, maybe you do.
But I mean, FedEx does require it. So take a good look at your spares and of course, your utilization of that spare. Now, are spares better than rentals? Yes, but at the same time, are you paying for a spare and a VETR unit for the entire year on a vehicle that maybe used 5 times? Okay. And then Jen asked about Ground Cloud being a third party or a FedEx tool, but it can get confused. Ground Clouds interwoven themselves with every aspect of FedEx, and we've even had VP say how great that is. Well, we still think our time definite tracking is way better than theirs. So just because if you're new to the business and the current CSP has Ground Cloud, it doesn't mean it's the right choice for your business. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
No.
Okay. Since when are increased costs an acceptable reason for renegotiations? You want this one, Carrie, or you want me to handle that one?
Let me see. Say it again.
Increased cost. We referred to like people that have failed timekeeper audits, and then they were forced to go with one of those other vendors.
Oh,
So they were able to
paychecks
get
and-
more money. Yeah, they were able to get more money.
they were able to get more money.
Now, look.
I'm confused.
In the contract, if you'll read it, there are a couple now, specific places where it says if what they're requiring you to do materially increases your cost, you can renegotiate that with them. It's not just costs in general. It's when it's specific. So in the case of payroll, if they point you at a payroll provider and it costs you another, who knows, whatever it is, then there is specific wording in the contract that says you can renegotiate your contract at that point.
Yeah. Perfect. Yep. So.
Which is
yeah.
the same thing. I see there's a couple of questions which is the same thing, the same wordings in there about a security assurance program. Now, just so you know, somebody on this call used to be the National Director of Loss Prevention for FedEx, and I'll bet you that some point very soon, there will be a security assurance program available to you.
That's something, not just your equipment, that would be having your drivers followed to see if that vehicle is secure in delivery as well, or is that door wide open while they're in making a delivery? Is that vehicle running while they're in making a delivery with the keys in it, and somebody pops in and steals that truck? So, and once again, you're going to have to demonstrate proficiency in that area. So I think those are things that will FedEx want you to use a third party to do that, or will they make you demonstrate that you are checking on those things to prove that you are proficient? So they haven't outlined that enough yet. But they didn't let you run your own safety programs. They made you go to a third party program. So just foreshadowing some stuff. Okay. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, Ground Cloud is third party tool, just as we are. So I think we already answered that one. Does your routing software work with FedEx ground VETRs? Two separate things, quite frankly. the Veeder, you're still going to have. You're still going to get alerts when somebody's action triggers that alert. But our software is geared still to routing your drivers, giving you daily information on their productivity, revenue generation. So Veeder will have to exist, whether it's ground cloud. I should say, can't use Smart Witness anymore because that's gone bye-bye. They're not going with the AI cameras, but any other Veeder vendor that's on that list, you're still going to have that, and you would still have to use a routing software. If you don't routing software, there are so many other tools in eTruckBiz that, especially at $395, the benefits are limitless, quite frankly, and tracking your revenue and your productivity daily is going to definitely benefit your operation more than that $195. Okay. And no, eTruckBiz is not a Veeder vendor. Jeff, anything to add to those questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Does FedEx have hard stop count minimums for a carve out if you're selling to another contractor, or is it always a case by case base? Do you want that, Jeff or Carrie?
I don't understand the question. Do they have hard stop count minimum? So there's new wording in the contract where they don't really want you doing this, but I think you could take what you have, and sometimes they'll tell you you have to split it up to sell it. I don't know if that's what this is about. I mean, that's actually a very involved question.
Yeah,
What they don't want is you got 1,000 stops and there's 200 that you don't want to do anymore. So you say, hey, I want to take these 200, spin them off and sell them. They don't want you doing that anymore. If you got 2,000 stops and they think that, and you want to sell it, they might tell you, well, that's great, but we don't want a new person having 2,000 stops a day. So we'll want you to split this in half.
Well, and I think the important thing to note is any type of spin-off, as we call it, of zips that you want to do has to be approved. So you can't just decide on your own.
correct.
Right.
And it would vary if it's somebody to the outside, there might be a minimum. To another existing CSP, there might be a maximum, because how much you sell that existing CSP could put them over scale for the building as well. So, but Carrie's keywords are, it has to be approved by the station. Okay. Lots of great questions today. It doesn't look like we have any more. We hit you with a lot of information today. And I think a lot of it good. With this calculator, it's geared to show you, is there a way to save money in my operations? And we definitely know that there is by utilizing eTruckBiz. You can save money, and then you can uncover other waste with driver productivity as well by checking that productivity all day long. All the way from the preload, you can see what your stops per dispatch are going to be. Absolutely critical to the success of your business. So would definitely encourage you to take a look at this calculator and continue to look for savings in your business. We will be back here next Tuesday with more information and continue to share more stuff of what we see happening in this new phase of One FedEx. Oh, got a new question. Haven't carve outs always needed to be approved by station management? Yes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but they don't want to argue with it anymore. You can't just, used to be that you could come up with your own and go to the station and then argue it with them. They're just telling you now, forget it. That's not up to basically the contractor to slice and dice work areas.
yeah, that's also put in there to protect FedEx from kind of a rogue senior manager as well. Because we've seen some spinoffs and work areas get moved from one CSP to another CSP that quite frankly aren't contiguous. And talk about blowing the whole plan for FedEx One by doing that. It definitely does. And like I said, and there's senior managers that have allowed that. So that was put in the contract, as Jeff said. So it takes the senior manager out of it and it takes any arguments out of it. Okay. All right. Fantastic. I want to thank everybody for your time today. We'll be back here next Tuesday. If we don't talk to you before then, please have a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much.